Hello friends and welcome to Chronically Overdressed. I'm Christine, the Glambassador. So I wanted to try and do a little bit of a different set this week. I bought some pillow rollers to try them out, and I'm really curious to see how different the set's going to turn out, different than my normal sponge roller set. So I had purchased pillow rollers in the past and I did not like them because, strangely enough, they're actually square. The foam piece is square. And it really just made my curls look really funky, so I just never used them again. And then I realized that not all pillow rollers are like that. I actually bought two sets, and they're both square. One that's like a white satin, and then these are black satin. So I just kind of assumed all of the pillow rollers were similar in that shape. So I did find this set, and they are, in fact, round all the way around, which was really nice. And the pack came with a lot of rollers, and I tend to use a lot of rollers in my normal set. I use about 33, so I actually used the same amount this time. Now, they are smaller, so this is the size of my normal roller. So they are a bit smaller. They're more of the size of the rollers that I tend to use on the sides. So they're smaller, but they're also longer. I don't know if you can see the difference. So I'm really curious to see how these are going to change my set. And of course, I have really curly, naturally curly hair. So sponge rollers just work best for me. Pin curls don't do anything for me. They end up making just a big, huge frizz ball of my hair. I can use them in small sections, like sometimes I'll use them on my fringe or just on the sides, but the rest of my hair, it needs the structure of putting the hair over the roller to kind of really make sure that that curl is going in the right direction. So I'm really concerned that because when you put the hair on this roller and then you kind of have to bend the whole thing up, it almost creates a little dip here. So some of the hair gets into that almost a C shape. So I don't know how that's going to turn out. I've heard people talk about pillow rollers being much more comfortable to sleep in, and that's why they prefer to use pillow rollers. I don't really have a problem with sleeping on my sponge rollers, and to be honest, I did not find that these were any more comfortable than with my sponge rollers. I think the fact that I have so many rollers on my head when I normally do my sponge roller set, it creates this almost a helmet for my head to lay on. And so it's not uncomfortable. I don't feel any of the plastic. People have asked me all the time, how do you sleep in those all the time? And honestly, it's not uncomfortable for me. These were a little bit, they weren't uncomfortable, but they don't hold the structure and they don't hold in place as tightly as with my sponge rollers. So they were moving around a little bit more, so they were creating space, especially in the back of my head, that felt very lumpy and uncomfortable. So it wasn't terribly uncomfortable, but I would not say that they were more comfortable than using my sponge rollers. But I could totally understand if people are using less rollers, if you're only using, maybe 10 to 20 rollers, and there's a lot of space in between the rollers, I could see that would be very uncomfortable. Okay, so let's go ahead and I did pretty much the same thing as I normally do, washed and did a full wet set. My hair was completely wet when I put it in. It's been about 24 hours. I did sit with my bonnet on while I was doing my makeup today because I wasn't quite sure how well they were going to dry. because they do have this cover, and I wasn't sure how much airflow was going to be able to get into the hair. So I wanted to make sure that it was completely dry, so I sat under the bonnet for a little while, and hopefully they are completely dry. I have not tested it out. I wanted to kind of do a blind review, I guess, of the pillow rollers. So, as I said, I use the same amount of rollers, but because they're smaller yet longer, the placement was a little different. So on the sides, I only used 3 on my sides. I normally use 4, and I did do 4. I rolled everything down like I normally do, and this is my fringe going this way, so I did roll them all going that way, which is my normal set. So you can see the rest of everything. I think it's all put in there correctly. I did use my hairnet last night to keep everything in place, because like I said, they don't feel like they stayed really close up to my scalp, so I wanted to make sure that they weren't going to flop around, which that guy did. So we'll see. Okay, let's go ahead and take these guys out. So far, they are dry. And I noticed when I was rolling them up, so the best way for me to get them to stay somewhat in place was to fold over on top. If I was folding it under, they would tend to kind of flop down. So that was the easiest way for me to keep them at least somewhat secure and as tight as possible to my scalp. I'm gonna hold off on my bangs. So like I said, I wanted to try and do everything as similar as my normal set as possible. So I still wash my hair normally. I use my flaxseed setting lotion. The only thing that I did different was it was time for my apple cider vinegar rinse. So I did do that. But that generally, just kind of, it usually just makes my hair a little bit softer. So I can definitely see that the curls are much tighter, which I was expecting because the diameter of these is a lot smaller. They're about this size here, which I think this is like a 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 inch. So that's definitely going to make a much tighter curl, which I'm fine with. I can totally deal with this. And now normally if I have this tight of a curl, I would probably try to just put it all up into a poodle and leave it that way for a day, maybe a second day of a poodle. And that just kind of helps to preserve the curl, but I really want to brush it out and see what it looks like completely brushed out, and see how different it is from my normal set. So I am going to leave these up top here. It's easier for me to brush out the rest of it. and then deal with my fringe later. So got some nice bounce there. Definitely the apple cider vinegar rinse really helps to just kind of clarify my hair, get all of any excess gunk that's been building up, and it tends to give a bit more bounce for the weeks after I do the rinse. I try to do the rinse every couple of months. Just if my hair's starting to feel kind of heavy, if I know that I've been using a lot of product in my hair, with the humidity and everything, I tend to use a lot of product to try and calm it down. That I may need to do the apple cider vinegar rinse a little bit more, but my goodness, boy, do we have a lot of curl. Gotta say, I'm not hating it. Okay, so this is just a preliminary brush out, of course. I'm going to put a little bit of the Bumble and Bumble hairdresser's oil just to calm down a little bit of. It's not actually terribly frizzy, which again, the apple cider vinegar rinse helps with that. Okay, we're gonna start brushing it through and see how these curls laid. Definitely getting a nice little wave here. Let's see if I can get this to set a little bit better. I'm gonna use a little bit of pomade. This is, again, my scented orange flower pomade from Little Bits, LBCC Historical, which I love. I don't know if it's because of instead of using 4 rollers, I used 3, but yeah, this wave is definitely it's not coming out the way it normally does, but it's not bad. A little bit of pomade on this side as well. I don't think I want to brush out the curls too much. I'm liking this kind of super fluffy 30s kind of look. Okay. So I think this is a good first run. Now let's take out the fringe and see what is going on here. Okay, got some nice good curls going on. I could tell definitely with this curl that my ends were not tucked under completely. Don't know if you can really see that or not. They didn't fish hook, but I can just tell the quality of the curl right at the end, which I can tuck in. They didn't fish hook, thankfully, but it was harder to get my ends rolled under these pillow rollers than it was for my sponge rollers. And I think a lot of it has to do with how smooth this material is. With the sponge rollers, my hair just kind of like holds on to it. So when I'm rolling it up, it's very easy to just tuck everything in. Because of how smooth these are, it was a little bit more difficult, and the ends kind of wanted to jump out off the sides. So that is one thing that was a little bit more difficult, was trying to get the ends in there. So I am really kind of liking this bunch of curls, and I'm not going to brush them out a whole lot, because I think I want to use some of this fluff and just I think what I'm going to do is, yeah. So I was still able to get this really nice little bit of a wave, and that happens for me when I roll my hair this way rather than rolling it all back. It creates this this natural type, this little wave here. And I was worried that I wasn't going to get that same wave, because generally when I roll my hair with my roller, the clasp is actually what helps to kind of create that wave, and also wearing my my hairnet and setting it right there, it kind of helps to create that as well. So but I'm really happy that I was able to get that with these pillow rollers. So I'm just going to kind of play around, and I'm just gonna pin this back. There we go. And on this side is I will take this small section and bring it up and twist it around, and I'll pin it right behind that fringe area, because I don't like having so much volume here. So sometimes I will just take this very small section and pull it up and just pin it right behind, and then I'm going to use that tail to then kind of fill in this little area here. There. Okay, I'm gonna go check the back. I will be right back. Okay, so the back actually looks really good. I wasn't quite sure how the waves were going to turn out. I still set my hair. If you haven't watched my original wet set video, please go do that. I'm linking it here for you. So I always roll from the bottom up, and I roll in horizontal sections, and that helps to keep that wave in the right, or keeps all of the rollers in the right way to create that wave. And because these weren't as secure as the sponge rollers, I was concerned I wasn't going to get that wave created, but they did a really good job. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. I would say that I don't know if they're gonna replace my my sponge rollers. There's not a lot of difference for me with them. But if they are much more comfortable for you, if the sponge rollers with the plastic bars, if those are way too uncomfortable for you, I definitely recommend trying the sponge rollers. Just make sure that your set is very similar to what you're used to, or try different things out to see what works best for you. With all rollers, whether it's the sponge rollers or the pillow rollers, I recommend using a lot of rollers. That is going to be just the most comfortable for sleeping in them. That again, it creates kind of this helmet barrier. When you have too few rollers and they move around a lot, that's what kind of makes that uncomfortable feeling. So again, I used 33 rollers for my sponge rollers, and I used 33 for the pillow rollers. They were just slightly placed differently, but not too much, really. There was just, I think there was a couple of extra up here. I used less on the sides. I used 3 on the sides, 4 on my fringe, and I'm really very happy with this beautiful wave that I was able to get with those. And yeah, I'm really happy with the hairstyle. It's very curly, which is fine because it's going to help to make my my set last longer. So if you're wondering about pillow rollers, I definitely recommend it. I'm going to put the link to the ones that I purchased in the description below. You can also find them on my Amazon storefront. So yeah, there's my hairstyle. And please don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. I will see you again soon. Bye!